Next up, when it comes to cycling through techniques in conjunction with the indirect or deferred method of phase entrance, which is essentially where you are utilizing the natural awakenings that happen throughout the night, preferably later in the night, like past hour 6 or so, then you immediately try to fall back asleep, and then upon trying to fall back asleep is where you want to be cycling through these techniques that we're going over here. So I already covered 3 of them. We did observing images, visualization, and rotation. And so next up, we'll be covering 2 more, phantom wiggling and imagined movement. And he splits those up into 2 different techniques, but I'll be grouping them together. And these 2 techniques I don't have as much experience with as I did the first 3, which is why I covered the first 3 first. But I'll read through what he wrote and I'll add in my 2 cents here and there where I can. So first up, phantom wiggling. Immediately after waking from sleep, remain motionless, eyes closed. Try to wiggle a part of your body for 3 to 5 seconds, but without using any muscles. If nothing moves during the attempt, try a different technique. If a sensation of wiggling occurs, even in the slightest, continue to employ the technique, striving to increase the range of movement as much as possible. This technique should be performed very aggressively, not passively. As soon as the range of movement near or exceeds 4 inches, which may take several seconds, the following sensations may arise. 1 momentarily finds oneself somehow in the phase, or the wiggled part of the body begins to move freely. The occurrence of movement during practice of this technique allows the practitioner to transition to a separation technique and attempt to leave the stencil body. While practicing phantom wiggling, strong vibrations may occur, amid which separation may be attempted. Sounds also often arise, allowing the opportunity to practice listening in, which is a technique we'll be covering probably in the very next video. The phantom wiggling technique is not meant to produce an imagined movement of a phantom body. The point of the technique is to attempt the movement of a physical body part without using any muscular action. Generally, there is very little range of movement at first, but with concentrated effort, the range of movement noticeably increases. It does not matter which part of the body is used to exercise phantom movement. It may be the whole body or just one finger. Neither is the speed of movement important. Increased range of perceived movement is the aim of the technique. So training. So this is actually pretty interesting. I should give this another go here. But training. To train the technique of phantom wiggling, relax a hand for several minutes while lying down, eyes closed. Then aggressively envision the following hand movements without moving any muscles for 2 to 3 minutes each. Rotating up and down, left and right, extending the fingers and drawing the fingers together, clenching and unclenching the fist. No sensations will occur at first. Generally, the sensation of muscular action will become so apparent that the perceived movement will be indistinguishable from real movement. During the first training attempts, practitioners are often tempted to open their eyes to see if actual movement is occurring. That's how real the sensation feels. Pretty interesting. So next up, we'll be covering imagined movement. Upon awakening, without first moving your body or opening your eyes, try to feel some imagined movement for 3 to 5 seconds. For example, this may be running, pulling a rope, etc. If no result occurs after several seconds, switch to another technique. If the sensation of movement is feeble or the feeling of being in 2 bodies at once arises, keep with the technique and increase the degree of realism of the sensation as high as possible to the level of real feeling. At that moment, the imagined sensation will become dominant and you can try to separate from your stencil body as you'll be already in the phase. When implementing this technique, spontaneous translocation often occurs to some place or another, after which separation is already unnecessary because you've already, separated from your stencil or real life body. So when it comes to training, in order to practice this technique, lie down with your eyes closed in a dark room and try to feel as authentically as possible imagined movement of various kinds. Swimming freestyle, running, power walking, pedaling with your hands and feet, pulling a rope, rubbing your hands together in front of your face, etc. Such training will help you to learn to quickly create the intentions of feeling a specific sensation, which will play a key role right when it counts. So this actually makes me think of is something that I haven't used for phase entrance, but one I like to mess around with, where one of my favorite feelings in the world is like that dropping stomach feeling. And years ago, this is actually one of my first times like playing around in the whole hypnagogic liminal space, is I was seeing this video of these guys doing base jumping forever ago. I was 13 years old or something like that, 12. And I just came home from school and I was watching this video, just happened to turn on the TV, and they're going doing this awesome base jumping, running through these trees, and all of a sudden there's a cliff and they leap off. And I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. So as I was lying down, I kept just replaying that scene over and over again in my head. And I noticed I could get the very beginning sensations of that dropping stomach feeling. And that is really one of my favorite things to do. I mean, that's really what got me into this whole liminal practice, was actually like, you know, making that droppy stomach feeling happen like on command, which is really neat and kind of gets at this whole, you know, imagined movement thing. But nonetheless, I thought it's pretty neat. I don't make use of this technique all that often, but one I should be playing around with more. And that'll wrap it up. Until the next video, keep your face practice legit.